Many people's greatest wish is to establish a name for themselves here on Earth. People want folks far and wide, today and onward, to tell stories about them. You may argue that this is the only way for one to live forever. But how does one person establish the longevity of their legacy? Is it through fame? Must you have an extremely wealthy and powerful family? Through the narrative and its form, the film The Grand Budapest Hotel would argue not. Grand Budapest takes place in a fictional Eastern European country named Zabrovka. Director Wes Anderson uses a series of 4 frame stories to develop the plot. The main narrative takes place in the 1930s. The unlikely relationship between Gustav, the illustrious Grand Budapest Hotel's concierge, and his lobby boy Zero are tested through a series of obstacles after Gustav is willed a priceless painting by his most beloved patron. In the entire movie, only 3 blood families are explicitly mentioned, each with major pitfalls. This story that is relayed from Zero himself to an author, whose book remains relevant to modern day, is not about these biological relationships, but centers around the value of found families. The Grand Budapest Hotel tells a story of how acquired kinship can extend one's legacy while examining the relationship between blood families and found families. When the primary story opens, we are introduced to the concierge of this truly grand hotel. We learn very early on that instead of kids and a wife, he allots his time to his job first, and second to his dear patrons. Throughout the entire movie, there is no mention whatsoever of Gustav's mother, father, sister, or brother. That is not to say Gustav is without a family. As a concierge, Gustav's job is literally to be responsible for, and be kind to, people. When he is off duty, he takes a more intimate stance on this philosophy by, let's just say, caring for his elderly female guests. Gustav prefers to curate his family. One of the 3 families that are mentioned is that of the story's protagonist, Zero. Gustav learns immediately that Zero, like Gustav, is without family.
Family?
Zero.
Although their relationship remains strictly professional at first, Zero earns Gustav's personal trust by embodying the beliefs that Gustav values most: civility, kindness for all, and hard work. As demonstrated by the mise-en-scène and staging of the 2 characters, Zero quickly reaches Gustav's level, literally. As the events unravel, we see the formation of the newly found family between the 2. The second family that is introduced is of Gustav's most beloved patron, Madame Villeneuve d'Escoff und Taxis. This large family holds very different values than Gustav and Zero. They are the physical manifestation of greed within the film, with the eldest son murdering his mother to receive her will. When he finds out that Madame's most valuable painting, the boy with apple, is willed to Gustav, her children are not happy. The family goes through adverse and despicable means attempting to keep it in their possession. Gustav is framed for murder by the eldest son and must go to jail, but he finds that even there, his kind gestures finds him a much more functional and helpful family than the d'Escoff und Taxis. The third and final family is mentioned briefly when Henkels, a military officer, exposes his connection to Gustav when they are on the train. Although it is heavily implied that the mother cheated on the father with Gustav, him being nice to the young military officer affords him a free pass in a tough situation much later on. This small example is a great demonstration of the faulty nature of blood families and the advantages of Gustav's friendly disposition. When Gustav is in jail, Zero must also acquire company. Agatha, who also enters the story without a family, lives with her employer. Zero and Agatha quickly fall in love and become a family of their own. But like any older brother, Gustav must approve of Agatha as Zero's partner. Upon approval, Agatha is now a part of the Grand Budapest family, and proves it by providing tools to help Gustav escape from jail. The Grand Budapest Hotel demonstrates how being kind to others trumps blood relations in all circumstances. Unbeknownst to them at the time, the story of Zero, Gustav, and Agatha will be told and retold. After a 1960s Zero recalls this story to an author at the Grand Budapest Hotel over some kind words,
I know and admire your wonderful work,
and an extravagant dinner, the author goes on to write about Zero and Gustav's adventures. This book is discussed again in the 1980s and remains relevant to modern day. The story being told and the characters most remembered is not of the rich and powerful d'Escoff und Taxis, not of the family of a prominent military officer during the war, nor of the famous patrons that graced the hotel, but of those who prove that found family can be much more successful and lasting than blood relationships, and that kindness always prevails.